Welcome to Salcedo Paranormal. It is Monday, December 5th, 2022, and tonight I'll be covering paranormal news. As always, you can find all the episodes of the show along with links to social media and other ways to contact me at the podcast page, and that is salcedoparanormal.podbean.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.podbean.com. Always happy to hear from you all, whether you have comments or questions or topic suggestions, or if you have stories of paranormal experiences, whether they're your own or from others that you trust. Happy to either read those or have you on the show to talk about them with me. And tonight is news. Tomorrow night will be more true paranormal stories from the web, and then Wednesday will be more news. And then Thursday morning we will have a review of some kind, book review. So that is the plan for the rest of this week. Also, quick reminder, I will be taking the last week of this month off, but that's a little ways away. But just to let everyone know, I have another project I want to finish, and of course, family gatherings. So that is the plan for the end of this month and this year. So I have 3 articles here. I had another one chosen, but I had to replace it. So there's actually 4 in the chat, but there'll only be 3 in the episode description, both on the YouTube and the podcast feed for this episode. And I'll be talking about tonight. So I will get started with those. This first one is from LebanonDemocrat.com. Apparently that is a media outlet, but no worries here. I promise you this is not going to be about politics. That's just the name of an outlet. And the name of this article the title of this article is, once I find it, Looking into the Supernatural. And this is about a couple of paranormal investigators who started out with this because of an experience that this man had that when he was a kid. His last name is Denson. Apparently, he saw his grandfather's ghost walking down the hall of his childhood home, and that led him to looking into trying to find answers regarding the paranormal. And it mentions that he's been doing this basically the rest of his life, even though it has cost him a lot of money. This is basically an experience. I think it's amazing that's an experience that someone had that led them down this particular road into the paranormal to look into these things and try to figure them out. And I'm always glad to hear that when it comes to these paranormal investigation groups, because I feel like in that case it's less likely to be one of those situations where they're just out to disprove everything, because I don't think that's really going to help anyone really either in the end. But so this is about a group called Middle Tennessee Paranormal. It says they've traveled across the country apparently, and done a lot of investigations. So really just a really neat thing to see here, an example of what can happen when you have an experience. And I have to say, if I had the resources to be doing this kind of thing as well, I'd be out there checking places out all the time. Every weekend, just checking a different place out to see what I can figure out and what kind of experiences I can have. And I would love to do that. So Um, Looking at the rest of this here, it talks a little bit about some of their investigations, and so I'll let you all look into the rest of that. But they talk about here some of the items or the tools that are used in investigations. Of course, that would include voice recorders, cameras, infrared lights, and EMF detectors. That's electromagnetic field, I believe. Definitely electromagnetic. I always forget if it's field or fluctuation. But and so they're talking about that, and the use of lights apparently can they use those to have spirits choose different lights for answers to questions. So kind of like what you've seen on TV shows, and I can say I've had some experience with a flashlight in my own home years ago, where it seemed to be responding, not necessarily to what my friend and I were trying to ask, but we had this flashlight that kept on turning on and off, despite having sat there for a long time, and then sitting there long after, to where it never did that. But so yeah, just a neat article looking into this the life of this couple, and how it led to them starting their own group to look into the paranormal. So, neat article there. So that's the first one I had to share for tonight, and I have two more here. Let's see here. Making sure this is working. All right, yep, looks like it's working. That's good. So this next article here is from thesun.co.uk, and this says, inside creepy abandoned millionaire's mansion, frozen in time after property tycoon owner disappeared overnight. And these kinds of stories always make me think, or these kinds of places make me wonder, when they become abandoned like that, when there's no one living in the place, can they be magnets for other kinds of beings that you can't see so easily? I wouldn't be surprised if they are. They can be homes for anyone passing by, any spirit or other being passing by that wants either a temporary or even a permanent place to stay. There are some great pictures in this article of this place in the UK, and so this is all thanks to a Facebook page apparently. But so this place was owned by a Greek property tycoon. I'll try to say the last name. Techmintis. This I'm not sure. TACHMINTZIS. And apparently, this man's brother-in-law said that he lived such a mysterious life that, even his own brother-in-law basically didn't know for sure what he did for work, despite having, when this brother-in-law happened to be in the house, he noticed basically, large amounts of money just sitting around. But I'm not really as interested in the life of this person that was there as I am just in what happens to these places when they're abandoned. I could see ghosts or spirits or even just any kind of non-physical entity that just needs somewhere that's out of the way. I could see them just gathering in these kinds of places. And I wonder if that's what leads to, in some cases, paranormal activity or hauntings where it's not even the history of the place necessarily that is generating or is the reason for the activity there. It's just that the place is left on its own, left with no one living there, staying there, and it wouldn't surprise me in a way if that does happen, and that's how you end up finding stories of places that are said to be either. Again, there's all these different words for places that seem to have a lot of energy or a lot of, um, let's even say, consciousness stored up in them. I wonder if that's because they're not being used. So just a question that came to mind when I saw this article. Goes into a little more detail here, but and then there's pictures, and it is slowly the house is slowly declining, but still, if you don't need food, if you don't need the usual things, if you're not basically you don't have a physical form to deal with, then there's no reason to worry about that necessarily. So just interesting, some interesting pictures of a place that brought that question to mind, and figured I'd share it with you all. So that's the next one I had to share here. Maybe I'll even do a show on that, abandoned places and the activity that is reported in there at some point. So, so yeah, that's the second article I had. Now this third one I found because of the difficulties I had with another article. I found this third one about 10 minutes or so before the show started tonight, so I was literally basically down to the wire here with this one. So glad it worked out. But so this last article I'm going to talk about here is from Arbiter Online, Arbiter online.com, and the title of this is Boise State Media Professor becomes inaugural director of paranormal activity for the communication building. And so this is an amazing article and concept in a way, because this is someone that is already a professor regarding media and communication. He's been there for 13 years. His last name is Snyder, and but there's also been reports in that building of paranormal activity, and this is part of what has led the people in the other department heads and just the people in general to kind of appoint him as this basically guide or this go-to person when it comes to the paranormal, because of apparently his interest in these things, and on an academic or historical level, and his expertise in communication. So apparently there were some students that were doing a seance in the building one night, and this professor stumbled on this group of students doing this and didn't even know what they were doing, and so they all kind of scared each other because of that. But so basically Snyder really decided to do this as well. Decided to start looking into and trying to find answers to the paranormal and to the questions that he was getting from people in this building, I guess, regarding the activity there, and then just the subject in general. And apparently now at this point he coordinates with anyone who is interested in paranormal activity within the building, and he also arranges investigations and tours looking to do those kind of things, such as seances or any of these other things. So I just think this kind of position is really amazing. Even if it is just strictly voluntary, and some people consider it to be a joke. I think it's a step in the right direction towards possibly having this be a more accepted uh, part of life and reality, and possibly even academia at some point. I think it's a step in that direction. It may take time, may even take a lot of time, but I was just really happy when I found this article about this, because I think it's a great thing to do, even if it's just unofficial or anything like that. I mean, it does say that the other department heads um had to approve of it, so there was that at least level of of I guess verification or permission given right there. But so that's just an amazing story and situation that has developed here, and goes into some of his views on the role of history and looking into history, and that being a kind of ghost in and of itself, which I think is an interesting idea. But yeah, so just a neat little article here about this professor and his new position. So just thought I'd share that for the end of the show. And that's all I have for today. Thank you all for being here and for listening, whether you listen to the live streams or the podcast or YouTube feeds. And I'll be back tomorrow at 1 a.m. Eastern. Again, that's the new stream time. With the next episode of Salcedo Paranormal. Take care, everyone.